We are back in the studio. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the K&A Football Podcast. Austin, Debbie, Margaret, it is so good to be back. It's been a long time since we've obviously filmed an episode in the studio. We've been virtual for the past year and a half, 2 years, and it feels really good to be back. You had Debbie doing the classic, hand signals back there before we go. It feels so good to be back, and it's bringing back a lot of nostalgia, and it's a new set. If you're not listening to it on YouTube, if you're just listening to the podcast, first of all, thank you. We love that. But go ahead and check out the YouTube for this episode. Go ahead and follow, share with your friends, and check us out at K&A Football on YouTube, and go check out the new studio. We've definitely revamped it up. We have a lot of behind the scenes TVs and cameras and lights, and hopefully next time we're live in the studio, we're going to have a very cool special feature. We'll just leave it at that. We're not going to tell you what it is, but that hopefully will be there next time in the studio. But for the time being, I'm super pumped to be back in the studio. I know Debbie is. I'm assuming you are. It feels good to be back. And we also have a bunch of games to recap and a bunch of games to preview and a whole lot of news. So without further ado, let's go into the intro. This is K&A Football. So Austin, let's hear, what are your thoughts here on this new studio? I mean, what are you thinking?
Okay, so we've been getting little sneak peeks, or at least I don't know if you've seen it before walking in here today, but at least I've been getting little sneak peeks through Debbie, just as he's setting things up, sending something in the Snapchat group chat or the main messaging group chat or whatever else. I'm just little things, and I haven't really actually seen it all together. So when I walked in here tonight, this is my first time seeing it because I'm home for fall break. So I was pumped. I was not anticipating how good it was going to look. I mean, it's just a culmination of everything that we worked on prior to me leaving for school. I mean, it's just little bits and pieces. I think I remember when we bought the tablecloths for this. I remember when we bought the bricks here so we could make it more aesthetic, the TV and the stand. It's just little things that have kind of made it through the whole way that are kind of fun. But obviously a lot of new stuff, the shelf behind you full of a lot of cool things, the new piece that'll be upcoming. It's just a bunch of stuff that's it's really, really exciting, and I'm really excited to be here. Yeah.
And it truly is a bummer that it's only get to be one-time use and then we're back to virtual next week. But which is why I think it's very fair that Austin should just drop out of college. I think Debbie agrees. I think Margaret agrees. I think. Hold on, are you Margaret or Sue Ellen? Okay, Margaret.
Margaret,
yes.
Yeah.
Debbie agrees. Margaret agrees. I agree, and I'm sure your family agrees.
Oh, for sure.
So, if you're listening, we're gonna set up a GoFundMe for Austin to drop out. What's the amount for you to drop out and do this full time here in the studio?
The amount,
$10 and Austin will drop out of college and we'll do this full time. So hit up that GoFundMe in the description. So without further ado, clearly we've said it, $10 and it's good. So let's jump into our top 3 plays of the week. This was a very, Debbie says, oh boy, back there. So we're going to stall until Debbie can get it. As we're going, we're going to maybe hit some hurdles because this is our first time back. So bear with us. But
but let it be known, even though this is our first time back and one time use, very sad, over Christmas break,
True.
I'll be here for a couple of weeks, so we're gonna get a couple of weeks worth of use out of this thing over that time period. So
true,
it's not this is just gonna get the one use and then we're out of here. We're gonna get a couple of uses.
What about Thanksgiving? Aren't you coming home for Thanksgiving?
All right, so our top 3 plays of the week. All right, so first up we have Aaron Rodgers and the Jets facing the Bills. We have 8 seconds left in the half. So we can go ahead and roll that potentially. Here we go. All right. So ball gets snapped. They're at the 52-yard line. Rodgers, king of Hail Marys, absolutely just launches one, and you know what happens. Goes up, catches it. I mean, it pops out there at the end, but the referee had ruled that it was a catch. So Aaron Rodgers with yet another Hail Mary to add to his career. Fantasy managers everywhere crying as it is yet again Alan Lazard, who seems to catch touchdown passes.
I'm not even gonna lie. I was watching this game and it was 8 seconds until half, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna run downstairs. I'm gonna take a shower during halftime, and I'm gonna come upstairs and watch the second half. So I went downstairs and I got out of the shower and I see a text message from Harold, and he's like, what did he say? He texted me and you and Debbie.
What did he say?
He said like he still got it, or maybe he just sent. I think he sent a GIF of Aaron Rodgers and said he still got it, because we all know he's the biggest Aaron Rodgers glazer of all time. And I was like, oh, what in the world happened? And I looked at my phone and I saw, and I was like, wow, I can't believe that. And I went upstairs, and my dad, he had changed the channel when I went downstairs to shower, because he's like, yeah, it's halftime. And I was like, Dad, did you see what happened in the game? Apparently Aaron Rodgers threw a Hail Mary. And he's like, what? And we went back and looked, but it was a good play. I mean, yeah, like you said, Aaron Rodgers is the king of the Hail Marys.
Yeah. All right, our next one is a little bittersweet. So here we have the Browns and Eagles again just before halftime. This time we have 25 seconds. Eagles going for a 57-yard 10 before halftime. So it takes the snap, kicks, and Myles Garrett gets a big paw up there, knocks it down. The Browns then go to return this, and they take it back all the way for a touchdown to tie it up just before halftime. I mean, talk about deflating for the Eagles. I mean, there's a massive game in my dorm room, and I had scheduled to meet and talk with my RA about potentials for going on a missions trip over spring break. And so I left the room, like I was going to the bathroom. I was going to go talk to my RA, like 25 seconds left. They're going to kick the field goal. It's whatever. And then from the bathroom, which is like, I don't know, 4 or 5 doors down from where my room is, I hear my roommate and my friend going absolutely crazy. And I'm like, what? So I like run back in there real quick. And they're like, you're never going to believe what happened. They just blocked the field goal and returned it for a touchdown. I'm like, you're kidding. And they show the replay, and it's absolutely fantastic. Couldn't have asked for a better go into that.
Maybe me and you just got to not watch the games, and all the crazy stuff's going to happen.
Apparently. All right, our last play of the week is going to be from Joe Burrow. He's about, I don't know, how far out is that? 47 yards. All right, so 47 yards out, pretty early in the game. I mean, we're only like, 4 minutes into this game. So here we go. Joe Burrow takes the snap. Everyone gets flushed out to the left, and he just takes off, and there's nothing but green grass ahead of him. And, he's really slow, but he makes it all the way, gets the ball on the inside of the pylon to open up the scoring in this game. Makes a really weird face there.
Yeah, no, his face was terrible.
That was kind of weird. So, yeah, then obviously everyone commenting on it looks like it was whether really good recognition from Burrow or whether it was a design pull, because everyone gets flushed out left in the secondary. So then they go ahead and walks in for a 57-yard.
In Joe Burrow's defense, I don't think he's ever had that long of a run life.
Yeah.
And he was cooking. He was going pretty fast for Joe Burrow. I was watching and I was like, oh, like there's nobody. Like he just kept going and nobody was there, and I was very impressed. And I was like, typically like a 47-yard rushing touchdown, I don't think that's the top play, but the fact that it was a QB and the fact that it was Joe Burrow, I think you had
not necessarily known for his mobility.
Right. But those were the top 3 plays of the week. Again, if you want to see those plays, make sure to check out the YouTube at K&A Football. And yeah, so we will jump right into our Week 6 recap of all of the games. There was some bye weeks this week, so we have a little less games to recap. But it all started last Thursday night with the 49ers, who were coming off of a really bad loss to the Cardinals in Week 5, and the Seahawks, who were coming off of a bad loss of their own to the Giants.
Yeah. So this game, I don't necessarily remember watching this game in particular, but the 49ers ended up winning this one 36-24. Brock Purdy had an okay day, went 18 for 28, 255 passing yards and a touchdown. Or was it 2 touchdowns? 3 touchdowns. I lied. Geno Smith, on the other hand, went 30 for 52, 312 yards, though, a touchdown. However, the story for this game was the turnovers for the Seahawks. Geno Smith threw 2 interceptions, and then they lost a fumble as well. So that did definitely hurt them. The game was close. It was within 10 points. So obviously eliminating those turnovers would have been huge for them.
Mm-hmm. And they had a lot of penalties in this game. DK Metcalf had a massive game, but all of his big plays got taken away from turnovers. He had about a 70-yard touchdown, I believe, that got called back from a penalty. And then he's better than Christian McCaffrey, but I was like, either they have found another dominant running back or this 49ers system is just incredible for a running back. And then Jordan Mason goes down and they bring up Isaac Guerrero. I don't know. Never heard of this man in my life. He comes out here, has 10 carries for 99 yards. Granted, a big chunk of it came on like around the last play of the game when he broke free. But, I mean, that's very serviceable for third string running back to come in and be able to handle his own and help lead you to a win. That's all you can ask for, especially out of a third string running back. And when you have such a dynamic offense with Kittle and Debo and Ayuk, and
end of offense.
Yeah, a good offensive line and a game manager quarterback. You should be fine. And it showed in this game. And they look like the 49ers that we've seen the last couple of years. And that's kind of what we've come to expect week in and week out from the 49ers.
Yeah. Before we move on to the next game, I think that it's worthy of note. Like, obviously going 10 carries for 99 yards is really, really good for a third string guy. And so I really believe what we need to do is we need to have a little test period for the 49ers. Like, okay, we're going to give you 4 games where nothing counts against you. Only positives here. And we're just going to throw in as many quarterbacks as we can into that system, see if it still works, and then throw in as many running backs as we can into that system and see if it still works. We need to see if the Shanahan system works for literally everyone, or if it's just they're really, really good at finding people that work specifically for their system.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it works for Jimmy G. He went to a Super Bowl, and look how bad Jimmy G is.
Yeah. All right, the next game here, we go across the pond. The Jaguars absolutely love playing in London, but man, oh man, do they wish they never played this week. The Bears have the worst day in the world, went 23 for 35, 234 yards, 2 touchdowns and an interception. But I mean, Caleb Williams, 23 for 29. That's great. 226 yards, 4 touchdowns. They were firing on all cylinders. And I don't know what happened to Caleb Williams, but the difference between the first couple weeks to these last few weeks is insane. The only part that I was a little disappointed about was the fact that DJ Moore wasn't really all that present in this game, and I have him in at least 1 or 2 leagues, and I was really hoping that he'd go crazy, but he was not a part of this game at all.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Caleb Williams almost had 5 touchdown passes because he had a play to DJ Moore where DJ Moore got tackled about a 0.5 millimeter short of the end zone, and if that goes in, that's 5 touchdown passes for Caleb Williams. And I mean, people are talking about Caleb Williams like, wow, we were so wrong about him. He's in Offensive Rookie of the Year conversations, which is very true. I mean, the last 2 to 3 weeks, he's completely changed the course of the season. I mean, it was very early when he had his struggles. He was the first overall pick. He was a rookie. Not everyone's going to come out and have a CJ Stroud rookie season or Jaden Daniels start to a rookie season. But and so he didn't have one of those starts. And people were saying because Jaden Daniels was drafted right after him, wow, I can't believe that the Bears passed on Jaden Daniels. Caleb Williams is clearly a bust, blah, 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 blah. A couple weeks go by. The Bears are now 4-2. They're scoring 35 points this week. They scored, I believe, 38 points last week. Their offense is clicking. Their defense, we know, is dominant. If they keep playing like this and Caleb keeps getting better, the Bears could very easily be a team that people are looking at in a potential playoff picture, which I think 2-3 weeks ago was insane to talk about because their offense was so dead. And so, I mean, it looks right now, at least, like the Bears and the Bears and the Commanders both made great picks at number 1. Yeah. We might have 2 staples at quarterback for the next however many years if this continues to pan out.
Yeah, I don't remember the last rookie quarterback class where we've had that sort of proficiency with those first guys off the board. You know, I mean, you get Caleb Williams, now he's going crazy. Jaden Daniels, he's been going crazy since his first game out here. Do you remember the last time we had like 2 quarterbacks come off the board like that.
Okay, I'm so sorry.
I'm so confused as to what
There's a lot going on right now. Sorry, Debbie. I know this isn't football. The Indians. They're in the playoffs right now. They're in the ALCS, right before the World Series, and they're playing the Yankees, and they're down 0-2 in the series. And they were winning. It's game 3 right now, and they were winning by 2. And on the drive to not Debbie's basement, on the drive to the studio, of course, the Yankees took the lead, and it's the bottom of the 9th, and my phone starts blowing up. Apparently, we just hit a 2-run home run, tie the game in the bottom of the 9th. So, I just got a text, I'm having a stroke from one of my friends, and, sorry, I'm going to, try to silence this, Debbie, but that's crazy. I know you were distracted, too, because I was very distracted
I was, really trying to
because my phone was
push through what I was
blowing up behind me. But, yes, I was back to the football.
Back to the football. Do you remember the last time that we've had a 1-2 off the board like that for quarterbacks, and they've both been this proficient immediately?
Last season, I saw the stat because obviously I was very invested last year with the Panthers having the first pick and the talk between Bryce and CJ. But every time that there's a talk with number 1 versus number 2, which quarterback should go 1 and 2, that one of them turns out okay or elite, but the other one is just nothing. You never get an instance of 2 dominant first and second QB picks that were talked about, who's going to go 1, who's going to go 2. And it looks like we're saying, to your point, I don't remember a time. And this is the first time it's really seemed that way.
Yeah. And speaking of Jaden Daniels, we'll move on to the Commanders game here. The Ravens ended up taking this one 30-23, kind of like we had predicted last week. This was a fun game. It was high scoring. 23-30. That's, over 50 points scored in the game. That's pretty good. Overall, I don't remember seeing anything insane about this game. Do you remember anything crazy about this one, Kadin?
Well, Romeo Doubs missed last week because he was suspended from the team because he decided he wasn't happy because he wasn't getting enough targets. And he says, I'm going to be a little baby. I'm not going to show up to practice. And the Packers said, fine, you're suspended. And he didn't play last week. And so he manned up a little bit and he showed up to practice this week. He played in this game. And how did he get rewarded? They fed him the ball. He had 2 touchdowns in this game. The Packers were rolling.
Are we on the right game? I don't think you're on the right game here. I was talking about the Commanders-Ravens game.
Why do I have the Packers game pulled up on my schedule? You're right. No, you did talk about that. Rewind.
We'll talk about Romeo Doubs a little bit later.
My bad. Commanders-Ravens. Yeah, this game was... My bad, Debbie. Bad. Commanders and Ravens, just like we were talking about. Yeah, kind of. We expected the Ravens to win this game. The Commanders, yes, were 4-1 going into this, but they hadn't had the hardest of competitions. Obviously, you can't control that, but they hadn't been battle tested, and there's no way to be greater battle tested than playing one of, if not the hottest team in the NFL right now, which is the Ravens. And Derrick Henry did his thing, 132 yards, 2 touchdowns. Lamar Jackson, 323 passing yards with a passing touchdown. Zay Flowers was a huge part of this game. And Jaden Daniels didn't play bad. He had... let me pull it up here. He did everything he had to do. He had a chance there at the end if their defense had just gotten a few more stops. Only losing by 7 in this game. Yes, I know Washington fans are like, man, this was our chance to really show people. But I don't think you can be upset with that.
You did show people, out of all the games that you're going to lose this year, losing by 7 to the Ravens, who they're my pick, and I think a lot of other people's picks to go really, really far this season. I have them going all the way to the Super Bowl and winning the thing. So only losing by 7 to them, that's showing people pretty much all you need to know, because us and a lot of other people wrote the Commanders off at the beginning of this year. So to be able to go toe-to-toe with the Ravens is saying more than enough.
Right, and their 2 losses, Washington's 2 losses this season are Week 1 to Tampa Bay, who looks phenomenal right now, and Jaden Daniels' first ever game, and then now to Baltimore, who, like you said, is a lot of people's Super Bowl picks. And Jaden Daniels had 269 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no interceptions. He had 22 rushing yards of his own, and they didn't even have their number one running back in Brian Robinson in this game. I mean, I don't think you're a Washington fan. I don't think Washington fans can be upset about this. I think it was a great game for them.
Yeah. All right, now on to the Packers-Cardinals game. Packers win this game 34-13 pretty soundly. Don't spend too much time on this. Jordan Love had a good day, 258 yards, 4 passing touchdowns. Cardinals struggle with ball control. They lost 3 fumbles in this game, which does it lose them the game? Probably not. It was a pretty big blowout, but it definitely doesn't help anything. All right. Like you were saying, Romeo Doubs. What about him?
There we go. Like we said, Romeo Doubs suspended last week. You know, that whole saga we just talked about. What did he do in this game? He came out. He only had 3 receptions, but that was second on the team. That was tied for second most receptions on the team. He had 2 touchdowns in this game. That's what Romeo Doubs is looking for. He wants that touchdowns. He wants those stats to get that payday eventually, because there's a lot of mouths to feed on that offense. There's Christian Watson. There's Romeo Doubs. There's obviously Jaden Reed, Dontavian Wicks. I mean, they have a lot of good receivers. Maybe not dominant, not wide receiver ones, but a lot of very solid receivers. And he wanted his targets. He wanted his touchdowns, and he got them in this game. And they didn't really need them. I mean, they dominated this game 34-13. The Cardinals are such an up and down team, because last week, beating the 49ers, and then they go this week and getting blown out by the Packers. So, yes, the Packers are a good team, but you expected a little bit more fight out of them.
Yeah, like you said, how do you go from beating the 49ers? Like, yes, they have their fair share of injuries and their fair share of inconsistencies as well. I mean, the 49ers are only sitting at 3-3 right now, which who would have predicted that? But the Cardinals beating them last week and then getting blown out this week it doesn't seem to make too much sense. So they need to figure out some form of consistency on their team and hopefully pick it up in the back half of the season here.
Mm-hmm. And another good game from Jordan Love. He continues to, when he's healthy, he continues to impress. He's going to put up the stats. He's going to put up the yards and the touchdowns. He's going to have a few interceptions. He only had 1 in this game, but he's always been able, he's always thrown a lot of interceptions, and it's frustrating. I've had him in my fantasy league the last 2 years. Yards and touchdowns, which is amazing, but he does have interceptions, kind of like a much, much better Jameis Winston per se.
Yeah.
I think that's fair to say. And then Marvin Harrison on the Cardinals side left this game very early with a concussion. Most likely is not going to play next week. So hopefully he gets better soon and gets back out on the field.
Yeah. All right. The next game we have here is the Texans and Patriots. Texans wind up winning 41-21. I feel like we all kind of could have predicted this. Of course, the Texans were going to win. But that being said, I don't know if I would have said that the Texans were going to put 41 up on the New England defense. Like, I think their defense is actually pretty good. It's really the only thing keeping them in games. But what I am more impressed with than anything is Drake May. Like, we all thought that the Patriots were absolutely crazy for putting Drake May in at all, playing him whatsoever. But he actually did a lot better than I would have anticipated for his first ever start, especially with the offensive line that they have. He went 20 for 33, 243 yards, and 3 touchdowns. He did have 2 interceptions. And granted, 2 of those touchdowns were in the waning moments of the game, so they didn't matter too much. But he did overall play a decent game. Not fantastic, but I think you put Jacoby Brissett in this game, I don't think he performs the same way that Drake May did here.
And this is a really good Texans defense. I mean, they have great corners. They have a phenomenal defensive line against the Patriots offensive line that is the worst in the NFL. And you threw Drake May kind of to the wolves and said, do your best. Not a great receiving core, terrible offensive line, playing a good team in Houston. And you can't control them putting up 41 points. Putting up 21 points is not bad, especially for an NFL debut when you're throwing the ball to Demario Douglas, Kayshon Boutte. His last name is Booty. Hunter Henry, Antonio Gibson as a running back, like Kendrick Bourne, JaMychal Hasty. Like, none of these dudes, Jalen Polk, rookie receiver. I mean, none of these guys are guys who you're expecting to be able to sustain a football team as a wide receiver 1, maybe even wide receiver 2. Some people are higher on their weapons, but I don't understand how you can when your leading receiver is Demario Douglas. So props to Drake May in his first start against this defense, getting it done making guys like Demario Douglas look good. He had 6 receptions for 92 yards and a touchdown. Kayshon Boutte had, love that, he had 3 receptions for 59 yards and a touchdown. I mean, he played very well. Like you said, Jacoby Brissett's not going out there and doing this. So I think Patriots fans are very thrilled. They knew they weren't going to win this game, but I didn't expect this out of Drake May, and he very much surprised me. And he outperformed CJ Stroud, who only had 192 yards. He had the same amount of touchdowns, 1 less interception. Yes, he didn't have to do as much, but props to Drake May. I was very impressed.
I was as well. All right. Speaking of quarterbacks getting their first start, we're going to go over to the Buccaneers and Saints. The Buccaneers very handily won this game, 51-27. But as I was kind of keeping tabs with this game, it was going on at the same time that the Browns game was, so I wasn't super invested in this one. But as I was keeping tabs with this game, obviously I see that Tampa Bay gets to an early lead. They get out first possession, they go ahead and score. Then immediately, Saints get on offense. They throw it to what's his name? Olave. I was like, it's a Ohio State wide receiver. I don't know why I can't remember his name. Throw it to Olave. He fumbles. Buccaneers pick it up, take it back for a touchdown. All of a sudden, they're up 14-0. End of the first quarter, Buccaneers are up 17-0. Okay, I'm like, okay, this game is wraps. Like, sorry, Spencer Rattler, you're getting your first start, but this is not a great game for it. At halftime, the Saints were winning 24-27. Whoa, pause. This is kind of crazy, actually. You'll notice that the final score was 51-27, and at halftime they were up 24-27. They scored all of their points in the second quarter and proceeded to do nothing else the rest of the game, which, kind of weird, but whatever.
27 points in a quarter is insane.
Yeah, it is. It's more to say that you go 27 and then nothing. So, whatever. Spencer Rattler, though, he's not a terrible performance from him. Went 22 for 40. Not good, but that's beside the point.
QB.
Rookie quarterback.
First ever start.
243 yards. That's pretty good. A touchdown, 2 interceptions. Is it good? No, it's not good. Is he really raw? Yeah, he's a really raw rookie quarterback. If he gets a couple more seasons under his belt, maybe even next season, maybe even later this season, I think that he performs pretty well. Like, the Saints fans should not be too mad. I have a friend at school. He's a pretty big Saints fan. Don't know why.
Poor guy.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, then we just hate on each other's teams all the time, and there's a lot to hate. So, and he was telling me, which I didn't even really think about, the Saints haven't had a rookie quarterback since the 1960s. They have not drafted a guy that's their guy in a long, long time. So for them, this is a really big, and to see him perform like this is really big for them.
To be fair, I don't think that Spencer Rattler is going to be the guy. I don't think they drafted him to be the guy, at least for the next couple of seasons. I think their guy is Derek Carr.
Yeah, for sure.
But, I mean, maybe it could be a situation where, Derek Carr is obviously injured. Not Tom Brady. I'm not calling him Tom Brady. So calm down before I even say this. But not talking to you, talking to everybody who's going to, hey, Spencer Rattler is not Tom Brady. But in a sense of Derek Carr getting injured, kind of like Drew Bledsoe getting injured, and then Spencer Rattler taking the most of his opportunity and maybe winning a starting job, whether that be in New Orleans or somewhere else, and people being like, okay, this guy can actually play, And so, but on the other side of the football, Baker Mayfield continues to dominate this season. He had 325 yards, 4 touchdowns. He had 3 picks. Yeah. And that's really what kept the Saints in this game in the second quarter and helped them come back, was all Baker's turnovers. But 51 points from Tampa Bay is insane. When they had 24 at half, I mean, the Bucs are impressing.
Yeah.
They won the division last year. I wasn't going into the season the highest on them. I said I think they would regress a little bit, kind of like we saw from the Giants after their playoff season a couple years ago. They just keep winning games convincingly. Their 2 losses are a very bad loss to Denver, yes, but then an overtime thriller against Atlanta last Thursday night. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're playing great football. They're dominating right now. Sean Tucker, second year running back, 14 carries in this game, 136 yards and a touchdown. Bucky Irving, 14 carries for 81 yards and a touchdown. Their running game is a three-headed monster between Sean Tucker, Bucky Irving, and Rashad White, who didn't even play in this game. I mean, their offense, Chris Godwin, 125 yards, 2 touchdowns. Mike Evans didn't have as good of a game, but we all know who Mike Evans is. Yeah. Their defense continues to play good. The Bucs are good, and I'm very surprised by it.
Yeah, at this point, it's safe to say that they're real contenders to win their division this year.
I think they can go much. I think
they'll make a playoff run. Everything I would have said a couple weeks ago, and when they beat the Eagles, it's like, oh, this is a statement of victory from them. But seeing as how the Eagles have performed recently, I don't really think so anymore. But that the same holds true though. The Buccaneers have been playing really, really good football for the last couple weeks. I mean, they're 4-2 right now. Couldn't really ask for a much better start. Mm-hmm. Speaking of the Eagles, we have the Browns and Eagles up next. Oh my! Eagles win this game 20-16. Here's what I'll say, and then we'll move on. We'll give the devil his due before I start though. Jalen Hurts, 264 yards, 2 touchdowns. The run game wasn't really there. AJ Brown, 116 yards on 6 receptions. Good day for the Eagles offense overall. Gosh, Kadin, the Browns are bad.
Yeah,
we are I don't know how. We are definitely one of the worst teams in the NFL at the moment. How we go from a playoff team to one of the worst is astonishing to me. We have a worse offense than we had in our 1-32 or 1-31 record seasons.
Yeah, I was gonna mention that. If you put those two offenses side by side, this one, it's not just better. It's much better.
Worse.
It is.
This
the
year's
other
offense.
One. Yeah. The offense from the 1-31's 2 years is much better than this year's offense.
Yeah, it's bad. We have still yet to score 20 points in a game. Deshaun Watson is absolutely atrocious. Like, I've never seen worse quarterback play than him, which is saying a lot. We've seen some bad quarterback play. The only highlights of the Browns are our defense is still good, and so that's kind of fun. Myles Garrett is still fantastic.
One of the top players of the week.
Unfortunately, we did trade away Amari Cooper this week to the Bills. A lot of people are upset about it, and I understand that. But
to be fair,
it was the right move to make. I mean, he never had the chemistry with Watson, so there's no real reason to keep him. He's in his last year of his contract, and trading him away saves us some money. We don't have to. He doesn't want to play here. He was never going to re-sign with us, so we were going to get nothing for him anyways. So it's the right move to trade him away here. Unfortunate, because obviously he's been one of the only consistent pieces of this team other than Nick Chubb and Myles Garrett in the last couple of years. Speaking of Nick Chubb, he will be returning this week. He took out a page in the Players Tribune and thanked the city of Cleveland for everything that they've done in supporting him as he's gone through the recovery process. So that's always a nice thing to see. Everyone really loves Nick Chubb. So you love to see that. Love to see that he's going to be back. Excited to see how he does. Just really, really unfortunate that he's going to be coming into this situation where 1-5, really struggling to do anything at all. And so I hope that we give him very limited workload, prove to everyone that he's still a good running back, and then get him out of Cleveland as soon as possible, because he does not deserve to be here.
Mm-hmm. I've been trying to find, while you were talking, the stat or the player, and I can't find it. Do you know who leads the Browns in touchdowns right now?
I do. It's our safety.
Yeah.
Our safety leads the Browns in touchdowns right now.
Which is insane. It's not like that safety has like 6. He has 2.
He has 2. Yeah. It's really bad, Kadin. Like, there is no denying that the Browns are awful, and not the Baker Mayfield trade, but we should have kept him. But the Deshaun Watson trade is the worst trade in sports history, and it's the worst signing in sports history, and it will never be close. It's the worst decision organization they've ever made. And now the Browns are moving out of Cleveland. So that's great too.
They're not moving out of Cleveland.
Yeah, they are. They're moving their stadium out of the city limits of Cleveland. The owner announced today that he's had conversations with the mayor, and the new stadium that they're building are outside the city limits of Cleveland, which is just a slap in the face to everyone who lives in Cleveland. I mean, I don't care too much. I don't live in Cleveland. It looks like it's going to be a sweet stadium.
It's still going to be the Cleveland Browns.
It's still going to be the Cleveland Browns, but it's not going to be in the city of Cleveland, and that's just really unfortunate for everyone. I mean, the Browns, I hate to say it, but the Browns are the Browns, you know, and they're from Cleveland. Okay? Like, the city of Cleveland is, like, rough around the edges. It's rough all around, and so are the Browns. And so moving out of Cleveland, like, it just doesn't feel right. It's like
I miss that. I miss hearing Debbie laugh at things.
All right, we spent too much time on this game. We suck. We're never winning another game. My entire family is like, Austin, you need to be more optimistic. Of course they're going to win games. We're not winning another game. We play Cincinnati this week. We're cooked.
Browns always beat Cincinnati.
We always beat Cincinnati, but not this time around. All right, next game. I'm done talking about the Browns. Colts Titans. Colts end up winning this one 20-17. Kadin, I'll let you talk about this one because I just talked for like 30 minutes.
Joe Flacco did kind of what he has to do. He did Joe Flacco things, came in, won them the game. Will Levis is just the worst. Will Levis, 16 for 27.
Deshaun Watson is the worst.
Okay, yeah, you're right. Will Levis is just the second worst. He had 95 passing yards in this game. 95. The Colts are supposed to have one of, if not the worst, pass defense in the NFL. 95 passing yards. The only saving grace of them getting down the field and scoring any points was Tony Pollard, who had 93 yards on the ground. But what just happened? I lost everything.
That's not good. I'll pick up for you while you try to
Oh, it's back.
Oh,
We're
there
back.
we go.
We're
All right,
back.
good,
I
good.
accidentally just yellow top left corner, yellowed it out.
Yeah.
I didn't know I could do that from clicking a button on my laptop, but Calvin Ridley. He was the big offseason signing this year. They gave him a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
They were saying last year in Jacksonville, he just wasn't schemed well enough, and he's still a dominant. He had a goose egg in terms of receptions. He had one carry for 9 yards. He got targets. Calvin Ridley said after the game, like they interviewed him and they asked him about his targets, and he goes, targets? And he's like, I got targets? His throws to him were so bad that he didn't know they were targets. Like, they were miles over his head or like 4 yards like in front of him or behind him. Like, he's like, those were to me? Like, I think he knows, like, it was kind of a slap in the face to Will Levis, but Will Levis is bad. Like, I think he's losing that locker room. The coach clearly doesn't like him. He's yelling at him every week on the sideline. The Colts I don't think their Colts are a great team either, but they're much better than how the Titans are right now. The Titans got very lucky that they played Miami when Miami was trotting out Pro Bowl QB. Tyler Huntley. And
that's how he's known for.
They got very lucky because if that doesn't happen, they're 0-5 right now, and they're talked about as the worst team in the league. Yeah. And I think people still need to talk about them as the worst team in the league with their current quarterback situation. Will Levis is not the answer, and I think that's very clear.
Yeah, I mean, the Texans are going to walk away with this division, and they're going to have no competition for it. I mean, who are they competing with? The Titans? No. The Jaguars? Absolutely not. Their only real competitor in this division is the Colts, and they're trotting out 89-year-old Joe Flacco every single week.
Indians won.
There we go. This isn't a baseball podcast, but it can be sometimes.
Walk-off home run. That is so cool. I wish I'd have seen it. Why do we have to perform the podcast on Thursday? Whatever. That's awesome. I am going to have to watch the highlights right after we're done. Watch the 2 home runs. Home run.
I believe you.
2-run walk-off home run. Dude, that is so cool. All right.
Well,
back to the football.
Don't worry, it's Cleveland. We'll lose. All right, back to football.
We just won. We can't lose now.
Yes, we can.
We can lose tomorrow.
All right. Yeah, anyway, I lost my train of thought. We're going to be done with that game because there's not a whole bunch going on there.
I couldn't believe we spent as much time as we did.
Yeah. All right. Next game we have is the Chargers and Broncos. Chargers ended up winning this one 23-16, which I did not see coming, personally. I don't think the Chargers are very good at all. I don't really know who Justin Herbert threw to. I mean, I do. It was like 9 different guys. None of them had over 44 yards of receiving. So that was kind of crazy. But Justin Herbert somehow put together 237 yards of passing. So kudos to him for doing anything at all. J.K. Dobbins went for just under 100 yards. So good for him. But great, 19 for 33. Somehow put together 216 yards of passing. 2 touchdowns, an interception. He was the lead rusher on the team. The Broncos were kind of squeaking out wins in the last couple of weeks here, and it was solely thanks to their defense, and then their offense would do just enough to squeak a win out of somewhere. Didn't quite work out this week. They fall to 3-3. Chargers move to 3-2, which
they're going to start playing. They outscored the Chargers 16-0 in the end of the. They're going to start playing. They outscored the Chargers 16-0 in the fourth quarter. That was all the Broncos' points. I mean, if they wake up in the first quarter when they're supposed to play the game, they probably win this game. But they waited until the fourth when it was too late. I picked the Chargers, so I was very thrilled. But deep down, I really thought the Broncos were going to win this game. But yeah, the Broncos after the game, Sean Payton came out and said that they want to have a youth movement, and they want to really see what they got in the young guys. Guys like, I'm going to mess up his name. Davante Adams. Think so?
That's pretty good.
Rookie wide receiver. Troy Franklin, rookie wide receiver. Audric Estime, rookie running back. They got a lot of rookies and a lot of young guys, first and second year guys on this team Bo Nix, obviously, who they're looking at trying to see what they got, because they got guys like Javonte Williams who are up there in age, not up there in age, but older than some of the young guys who are veterans but aren't dominant old veterans. They're just there. So try to see what they got in the young guys while also still competing and trying to win. And oddly enough, the Broncos are playing right now. Right when we started the podcast, the Broncos versus Saints game kicked off. And actually, let me just pull up the score. I have no clue what's going on in this game right now. It's 6-0 Denver.
Oh, okay.
Austin and I made our picks before, so we'll get there when we get to the picks. Bo Nix is 8 for 12 at the moment with 63 yards.
That's not
8 passes for 63 yards is nasty. Spencer Rattler is 4 for 7 for 54. Alvin Kamara has 1 rushing yard. I started him in my fantasy league. If you can't tell. Yikes, dude.
That's rough.
Oh, my goodness.
He'll get more. He'll get more. You can't just run, but he'll be fine.
Yeah, but we'll get there. That was a preview just because we were talking about Denver. I was also interested. I kind of wanted to pull it up. But yeah, that's really all there is in that game.
Yeah. All right, next game we have here, and this one has a lot of interesting stories that come after the game. So we'll get to those in just a second. Steelers, Raiders. Steelers end up winning this one 32-13 very, very handily. Justin Fields, again, just mistake-free football from him. He goes 14 for 24, 145 yards, mistake-free football. No touchdowns, no interceptions. That goes all to the... I mean, he didn't pass for any touchdowns. He rushed for 2 touchdowns.
Which is good, great.
Which is fine. Getting touchdowns is getting touchdowns. On the other side of the ball, Aiden O'Connell had, one of the days of all time. He went 27 for 40. I mean, it's not the worst in the world for Aiden O'Connell. 227 yards. That's all right. A touchdown and interception. Rushing wasn't really there for them, so it's easy to see how they lose this one. 13-32. Obviously, big story is that I'm sure that their passing game, their touchdowns would have been a little bit better had they had Davante Adams, but he has obviously been dealing with a, quote, hamstring injury. I say quote because he was lying, everyone. This week, Davante Adams goes ahead and finally gets traded to the Jets, which we'll talk about a little bit later once we get to the Jets as well. But that's huge, which obviously opens up the conversation for what do they do with Max Crosby. I think he stays, but everyone else seems to think he's going to go somewhere. But then the biggest story, because we'll talk about Davante Adams in a second, is for the Steelers. they've moved to 4-2. Justin Fields has been playing good football, turnover-free football, just good, smart, conservative football. That's what he's been playing.
Steelers football.
You're right. The Steelers go ahead and announce today that they will be starting Russell Wilson next week and for the foreseeable future, which is a little bit of a head scratcher. Like, whoa, that's a little weird. And I kind of understand it a little bit when you think about, like, I was obviously really confused. Why on earth are they not starting Justin Fields? Then I see that if Justin Fields plays at 51% of the Steelers' snaps this year, the Steelers owe the Bears a 4th-round pick. If he does not play 51% of the snaps, the Steelers owe the Bears a 6th-round pick. So, in my mind, the Steelers must be thinking that they can get the turnover-free Steelers football out of Russell Wilson just the same, if not maybe a little bit worse, as they can out of Justin Fields. Save him for the backstretch of the season where you need that decent football again, where that Russell Wilson might provide, he might not. But save him for that last part of the season where he's not going to be able to get the 51%, so that you owe the Bears a little bit less. That's kind of what I think is going on here.
Yeah, but I think that's so dumb. I mean, your guys are rolling right now. You're outperforming everybody's expectations. 4-2. Yes, Justin Fields isn't throwing for 300 yards a game, but he's playing mistake-free football. He's able to win with his legs that Russell Wilson is not able to do. Russell Wilson is a pocket passing quarterback, and you don't have the weapons at receiver to have a pocket passing quarterback thrive. George Pickens is your one, and his lack of effort is just pathetic at times. And then aside from him, you got Pat Freiermuth. I mean, Calvin Austin. Who is your next receiver? Who's your next option on offense? You don't really got one. So that's why you need somebody who yes, he can make the throws when they're needed to the guys when they manage to get open, but somebody who can make the plays with their legs themselves. Justin Fields, 2 touchdowns on the ground this game. Russell Wilson's not going to do that.
No.
Russell Wilson's going to try to make throws, and I think people are going to realize really early on that you can't do that with the Steelers team. And Justin Fields is playing Steelers football. He's not throwing for 300 yards. He's not having 5 touchdowns. He's doing what they need to do to win games. You put up 32 points this game. I mean, what is wrong with that? What reason are you benching him for? And
that's going to do nothing but hurt his confidence.
It's going to do nothing to hurt his confidence. The team sounds like they've been backing Justin Fields. I don't know what that's going to do to team morale in the locker room. And what are you going to do then when Russell Wilson starts to struggle? You're going to bench him, and because you're going to pull him and then put in Justin Fields and be like, hey, sorry, we were wrong. You're good. Like, you're actually good. Like, I mean, yeah, he's going to go in. He's going to perform just like he has been, but his confidence is probably shot. Like, what could he do differently? Yes, he could throw for 300 yards, but that's not Steelers football, and he can't do that with this supporting cast around him. He's doing what he can, and he's led them to a 4-2 record.
Yeah.
For what the Steelers were, you picked the Steelers to have 4 wins their whole season.
Well, I might be right at this point if they start Russell Wilson the rest of the time.
It's fair. I can't believe that they made that decision. And I'm rooting against them until they put Fields back in.
I agree. I'm always rooting against him. But I really like Fields, so I was happy to see him succeed. All right, Debbie says that we have a question here. So, Debbie, you want to come in?
Yes. We have a question from Corvin Outdoors. He asks, thoughts on Amari to the Bills?
Yeah, so, I mean, I talked about this a little bit, but we can touch on that again. I think that, first off, for the Bills, it's a good move. And
I think it's a much needed move.
Much needed. They don't have a very good supporting receiving cast. And my brother, Margaret, sent me a meme. And it's like, breaking Amari Cooper to the Bills. And the caption was, this is a not so fast Jets type trade. Right? They see the Jets trade for Davante Adams. They're like, we got to get ourselves a wide receiver because they're obviously in the same division. So much needed from the Bills. From the Browns' perspective, like I said, hate to see him go. He's been the most consistent part of our offense for the last 3 years. So hate to see him go.
The offense is going to suck.
Offense is going to be somehow worse than it already is. But it is needed from a financial perspective. We don't really have the means to continue to pay him. So we save ourselves money by trading him away. The Bills go ahead and pick up the rest of his contract, so we don't have to deal with any of that. And then, obviously, he doesn't want to be playing here anymore. He requested a trade at the beginning of the season, and he doesn't want to be here. He would never re-sign with us. He's in the last year of his contract anyways. So it makes sense on all aspects that he would go ahead and get out of here.
Yeah. And it was pretty clear the Browns were going to trade him. They offloaded a lot of his money. He only had $1 million left on his deal. So the Bills are only going to inherit $1 million, which is for the Bills to get a wide receiver one when you need it at that low of a cost in terms of salary, and for only at a third and a sixth, not bad at all. I think Bills fans are pleased. I think anybody's doing that in that situation any day of the week.
For sure. All right, next game here, Kadin, I'll let you take this one a little bit. It's the Falcons and Panthers. Falcons win this one 38-20.
Mm-hmm. The Panthers have done a weird thing the last couple of weeks where they go out and they take the lead early. They score, and then their defense, sucks. So they're going to give up a touchdown, and then it's going to be all of a sudden just the rest of the team is like, all right, we give up. We had our one drive, and now we're done. And that's kind of what we saw last week against the Bears. We saw it a little bit less this game. The Falcons and Panthers were a little closer. Panthers were only down by about 7-4 up until maybe, late third, early fourth. And then the Falcons kind of pulled away, win this one by 18. But it could have been more. I mean, they had a pick six where the defender decided to be nice and slide down at the 2-yard line, which at that point, who even cares? Just you're hurting yourself in that situation in terms of you're not a dominant, destroying, well-known defender. You're gonna have a contract eventually. I totally understand the respect factor, but you're gonna have a contract up, and teams are gonna be looking at your stats, and yes, they don't only look at your stats. They look at your character. They look at your film, more importantly. But the stats, they do matter. And being able to say, I have a pick six to my name, I would imagine is good for a good $1 million or two.
Yeah.
And I understand you were nice. You slid down. It's a division rival.
Yeah.
I mean, Panthers and Falcons don't like each other. At the Panthers Stadium, I don't understand why they didn't take that in that situation. But, I mean, obviously, the Andy Dalton backup QB, let's take him to the Super Bowl experience, didn't happen. But the Falcons continue to win. They're 4-2 now. Kirk Cousins had a good game, 225 yards, only one touchdown. Bijan Robinson, he had 2 touchdowns on the ground, while Tyler Algier had 1. Never did I think... That was a weird sound that it just made. Never did I think the Panthers were going to win this game. Panthers scored the opening drive, and I sat there on the couch, did not make a sound. And my mom was in the kitchen, and she looks at me, and she's like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "The Panthers just scored, and you literally didn't flinch." She goes, "I've never seen that in my life." Which is not true. I have done that before. There's been a couple instances. But
at least one other one.
And I was like, "Yeah." And she's like, why? And I was like, "Because we're not going to win." And I was like, "I'm not even going to get my hopes up." We play Washington next week. I know we're going to lose. We're going to probably score opening drive. And I'll be like, "Huh. So we're only going to lose 45-7 now instead of 45-0. But yeah, I mean, Chuba Hubbard is a dog. He's amazing. He's our best player on our team. But the rest of the team, they can be thrown into the XFL and the CFL for all I care. But the Falcons are good. That's
really the conversation.
We talked too long about it.
Yeah. All right, next game here, we have the Lions and Cowboys, which takes the cake for game of the week, in my opinion. This was America's game of the week, Kadin. Did you know that? This was supposed to be the big game of the during the day slot. So this wasn't one of the primetime games, but this was supposed to be the game, man. 47-9. Wow. What a game. We'll run through the stats real quick, and then we'll move on here. Jared Goff, 18 for 25, 315 yards, 3 touchdowns. Ooh, that's pretty good. David Montgomery, 12 carries for 80 yards. That's pretty good. 2 touchdowns to his name. Dak Prescott, oh, there we go. 17 for 33. That's not great. 178 yards. That's not great. 2 interceptions. There's the Dak Prescott we know. We even got to see some Cooper Rush in this game. 8 for 11 from him, 46 yards, and an interception. Very nice. Very nice to see that he goes along with the rest of the team. Let's see. How did they do rushing? Oh, they had their top rusher had 25 yards. Gotcha. This was a really bad game from the Cowboys.
It's gotten so bad as to where Jerry Jones is firing radio hosts for calling out the team. I mean, the Cowboys are in a disarray right now. I mean, they're in January form. This is something we expect to see from the Cowboys in the playoffs, not in the regular season. And we've seen this twice now. They played the Saints week 2 and got decimated. And now this. The Lions are just having fun. And they were trying to score with their linemen after what happened last year with the reporting as eligible instance.
Yeah.
And, I mean, they all got called back due to penalty, which is like, come on, NFL, just let them have it. But
Dan Campbell's going to keep trying it until you let him have it.
But, very, very sad performance, but very dominant performance by the Lions. They look good, and they could do whatever they wanted on offense against the vaunted Cowboys defense.
I don't know what happened to the Cowboys defense last year. The Cowboys defense last year was like, man, no one wants to play this defense. They're so good. I don't know what happened, but teams are doing whatever they want with the Cowboys right now. Like, it is bad. All right. Anyway, that's too much time on this game because it does not deserve this much time. Other than the Lions, I love watching the Lions win at all, but especially against the Cowboys. All right. Sunday night game. We have the Bengals and Giants. This was where we got our Joe Burrow clip from. So big run from him to open the scoring early in this game, and then we had no scoring for the next quarter and a half of football. Bengals end up winning this one 17-7. So I'm not entirely certain what happened here. I did not believe in the Giants defense literally at all. I thought that the Bengals would score 50 on their head, but instead they score 17. T. Higgins had 77 yards. Jamar Chase right behind him with 72. Joe Burrow 208 yards passing. Danny Dimes 22 for 41, 205 yards. Daniel Jones is not the worst quarterback I've ever seen, and I really thought that he would be moving into this game. Turns out it's Deshaun Watson. Not too much going on in this game.
The Giants' defense is good. Honestly, they got a great D-line, solid corners. The Bengals have an amazing offense, and they held them to 17 points. Yeah. Could have been easily 10, but they broke away in the very end of the game, and Chase Brown decided to not be respectful and didn't slide. I respect that. If I'm an NFL player, I'm sorry, I'm not sliding at the one.
I'm scoring.
I'm scoring every single time. So respect to Chase Brown for that. But yeah, I mean, very boring game for a majority of this game. Pretty much all of it. I mean, I'm not even going to lie. I didn't watch most of it. I was like, this is lame.
Not a good game. Yep. So that's all this game gets. All right. Final game, Monday night. We have the Bills and the Jets. The Bills win this one 23-20. No Robert Saleh to blame this time around. Josh Allen goes 19 for 25, 215 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Aaron Rodgers puts up a decent game, 23 for 35, 294 yards, 2 touchdowns. But he did have an interception the very not the very last play of the game, but the last play for the Jets. They need a first down to keep their hopes alive, to go down, kick a field goal, send this thing to overtime. Mike Williams allegedly runs the wrong route, which that's what Aaron Rodgers says, and I can totally see, even watching it live when he threw that ball, I was like, man, Mike Williams really does not seem to be in a great position for this ball. It looked like he slipped, and then the Bills defender goes way low to make the interception. Mike Williams then took Tuesday off for, quote, personal reasons. I think those personal reasons are he knows he's getting fired. So Jets obviously take the loss in this one, but then big story afterwards is that they trade for Davante Adams. And not only did they trade for Davante Adams, but Davante Adams was already in Aaron Rodgers' house before the news even broke that he was going to be a Jet.
I think everybody knew this was going to happen.
Yeah.
And I think it's huge. I think this opens up their offense. You go from Garrett Wilson, who hasn't really struggled, I guess, to be a wide receiver one, but he's not exactly the dominant wide receiver we were hoping he would be. Now he gets to fall back to that wide receiver 2 role, going up against the second corners,
Right.
not getting the entire defense focused on him. I think this also opens up Breece Hall. Now you have such a scary passing game between Aaron Rodgers throwing the ball to Davante and Garrett Wilson, 2 amazing wide receivers. So you have to pay attention to that pass game. You can't stack the box against Breece Hall. And so you're either going to stack the box against Breece Hall and hope you get a stop there. But if you do that, then you open up Garrett Wilson or you open up Davante. Like, they have so many options now in offense.
Yeah.
If Aaron Rodgers can just, like, play good.
Well, I think that what you said there is like really, really good. And like that's what teams aren't going to account for is the fact that now that the Jets offense is 2-dimensional, we're going to get the Aaron Rodgers that we were used to, like the insane IQ, not letting you substitute type guy where it's like you're going to stack the box because you know they're going to run. And as soon as they run, he's going to go hurry up. And you're either going to have to try to substitute really quick, which he's going to catch you on that every single time.
And you get a free play out
and
of
you
it.
get a free play. Or you're going to have to play with that stacked box and Davante and Garrett Wilson are on opposite sides of the field going, go routes, and he's giving it to one of them. So that's something that you really need to watch out for moving forward. I mean, Jets are 2-4, so they have a lot of ground to make up at this point, especially in this AFC East where you do have to try to catch up with the Bills at this point. But it's not out of reach, especially considering that the Dolphins and Patriots are not doing anything right now.
Mm-hmm. And the Bills on the other side, we just talked about them. Massive trade to get Amari Cooper. But we just talked about that as well.
Yeah.
So we're going to jump in to our Week 7 pick'ems. Austin and I have already done that. But first, we're going to get you guys a little message from our sponsors at K&F Construction. K&F Construction has been serving the Northeast Ohio community for over 16 years, specializing in composite decks. K&F Construction takes the time and effort to provide the service and product that you deserve for your home. You can call K&F Construction today at 330-575-2465 for a free estimate. Again, that's 330-575-2465. And you can also visit kfdex.com, which is linked in the description below. K&F Construction, let us build your dream backyard. So, Austin, we can jump into these Week 7 games. Like we said, Broncos Saints going on right now. We actually picked these ones all before the week.
So Broncos Saints. Current score for anyone watching live and not watching the game. Broncos are up 13-3 right now, which bodes ill for my pick. I did pick the Saints in this game,
and I picked the Broncos. Yeah.
All right, Patriots Jaguars. Who you got here?
I was really struggling with this one.
Same.
I picked the Jags because it's their second week in London. I think that's a lot. Are they? I wish I should have done that research. Are the Jags staying in London?
Debbie, can you pull that up for us?
Are the Jags?
Jaguars got to be staying in London.
Like, I don't think
There's no way they would come home just to fly back out across the time zones.
Are the Jaguars staying in London between weeks? The Jaguars are London bound for a multiple week stay. Yep.
There you go. Well, I mean, that definitely is going to help them.
I'm picking Jacksonville after seeing that.
Yeah. I am going to go New England.
Wow, we've already differed on 2 this week.
Yeah, which is big because we normally agree. I did go New England on this one just because, I mean, like they got just blown out by the Bears, and the Bears have a good defense. I think that the Patriots defense is not as good as the Bears defense, but I think it's still very, very good. And with the way that Drake May played last week and the way that the Bears were able to slice apart the Jaguars defense, I'm going to go Patriots. I think it'll be closer than the Bears game, but I think they'll still win. Mm-hmm. All right, Seahawks Falcons. Who you got here?
I picked the Falcons.
Same. This one's a no-brainer too. Titans Buffalo.
Bills.
Cincinnati Cleveland again.
Bengals.
I do have Bengals. The Browns historically have beat the Bengals, but that's done now. Texans Green Bay. This is going to be a good game.
Very good game. Very difficult game to pick. I am going to go with the Packers.
Okay, I'm going Houston on this one. We're differing on a lot. This is not going to be good for one of us.
Or it could split.
Yeah, it could split. It could split. This one for me, no brainer as well. Dolphins Colts. This is going to be another fantastic game. We have the Lions and the Vikings.
I'm going Lions in this game. They really impressed me last week. And the Vikings, I know they're coming off of a bye, but last time they played, they didn't impress me against the Jets. So I'm going to go Detroit. They're really hot right now, and we just saw what they did to Dallas.
Yeah, I'm going with the Vikings.
Oh, man. We have 4 different.
I know. I'm going Vikings on this one. I really do want to pick the Lions, but the Vikings are just so sneakily like 5-0. They really have flown under the radar with the fact that they're undefeated. Like I saw the NFL power rankings this week, and the Chiefs were ranked 2. I was like, oh, like who could be ranked 1? Completely forgetting about the fact that the Vikings are 5-0. So I am going to go with them. I think the Lions might have a really good chance to win this game. I'm really excited to tune into this one, but I can't discount the 5-0.
Yeah, fair.
All right, Eagles Giants.
Eagles.
Raiders Rams.
Rams
For sure. Washington Carolina.
Washington.
Kansas City and San Francisco.
Another really, really good game. Obviously, if you tuned in last week, you heard the Hail Mary of the week. And because of that, I'm going Kansas City.
I'm going Kansas City as well. This is obviously the Super Bowl rematch from last year. Obviously missing a couple pieces on each team from that Super Bowl, but I think it'll be really, really good. I'm going Kansas City. Jets, Steelers.
I'm going Jets. Russell Wilson is not going to win. And they're bringing in Davante Adams for the Jets. I mean, I'm going Jets in this one.
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot of factors going into why the Jets will win this game. So I'm going Jets too. All right, this is going to be another fantastic game.
There's a lot of good games this week.
Yeah. The Ravens continue to be in these shootouts, and I think this will be another one. Ravens, Buccaneers.
This is a tough one. Both teams are playing really good right now. I'm going to go the Ravens. I don't think until I see a way for them to get stopped right now on offense, I'm not going to pick against them. Derrick Henry is doing whatever he wants. Lamar Jackson's doing whatever he wants. Even Zay Flowers got involved last week. So I'm going the Ravens, but I could definitely see Tampa Bay. I mean, they're good right now, and they're rolling, and they just put up 51 points against a good Saints defense. So
yeah, I am going to go Tampa Bay. I equate Tampa Bay more to the Bengals with a better defense than I do to the Commanders. And so I mean, the Ravens, did they beat? Yeah, they beat the Bengals 2 weeks ago when they played. But I think the Tampa Bay has a better defense than the Bengals do. I cannot remember their name for the life of me right now. So I'm going to go Tampa Bay here, but this is going to be a great game. I'm excited for it. And then Monday night, this is going to be...
They're both Monday night.
Oh,
another one of the double
well, good. I'm glad I don't have to watch this one then. Chargers and Cardinals.
I picked the Chargers in this.
I have the Chargers in this too. The Cardinals have not played great football, and the Chargers are coming off a really big win, so I have them here.
We have 5 differs this week. That is awesome.
It's gonna be big. I'll pull it up really, really quick just so we can keep everyone in the loop here. Kadin had a couple wins over me last week. He is now sitting at 59 total correct. I have 55 total correct, and we'll toss him in here because why not? He's been keeping track too. Debbie has also been keeping track, but he's all the way down at 45. So sorry about that, Debbie. And we will be hopefully this week posting the official poll for what our punishment will be at the end of the year. So be sure to be following us on Instagram as well, KA_football. So you can vote in that poll.
That's this week, I believe you said.
Yeah, that's this week. We'll be posting that. So if you have any other remaining ideas that you think would be really great, you only have a couple days left. Get them in while you still can. DM us at KA_football for any other punishment ideas you might have.
Yeah, Debbie, not to just... Hold on, I'm making my picks on my other pick'ems real quick because, Debbie, not to, this is not a dig at our beloved Debbie, of course. Debbie, this is not a dig. Please don't take it that way. Let me just make sure all my picks are finalized in this one. Yes, they are. We're at an hour 13. That's fine. We're in the studio, dude. We're in the studio. I'm in another pick'ems, but I put my exact same picks into that pick'em. I'm in another pick'ems with my girlfriend Debbie, and I just like to have it known that.
Oh, come on.
I just like to have it known that me and her are tied 59-59. So yes, she is dominating you, but she's also beating Austin.
That's
So-
pretty good.
So yeah, so props to
Shout out
Evan.
to her.
But
I didn't ask.
Yeah, Debbie, don't take offense to that.
I'm taking so much
to let
offense.
that be known.
Had to let the people know.
Had to let that know.
Bro.
All right. We're going to take a very quick break, and then we will be right back with our segment of the week.
Welcome to this week's special segment of K&A Football. This week, Austin and I are going to be doing a Call It or Scrap It segment. Now, how does this work? Every time it's a Call It or Scrap It, I guess. Debbie will give Austin and I a question, kind of a yes or no type of question about the NFL, and Austin and I will then have to either call it, like call the play, or scrap it. We're saying no. We're saying don't run that play. We disagree. Wrong. So without further ado, I guess we'll just jump straight into the question. Debbie, do you have this week's Call It or Scrap It segment question?
I do have it. All right. So this week's Call It or Scrap It is all four NFC North teams make the playoffs. What do you guys think?
Ooh. I like that one, actually. That's a good one. Obviously, if you would have asked me this question before the season started, the answer was always going to be no.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I didn't have that much faith in the Bears. A lot of people had a lot of faith in the Bears, but I didn't have that much faith in the Bears. I'm like, okay, yeah, they got Caleb Williams, but the Bears are still the Bears. We still got the same system going on. No, they're not going to be making the playoffs. The Vikings? Are you kidding me? No, the Vikings are not making the playoffs. They're trotting out Sam Darnold. Okay, like he's not going to be. Yeah, they have Justin Jefferson, but like they weren't even planning on starting this guy. They were planning on starting JJ McCarthy. That tells me everything I need to know. If he's going to be sitting behind JJ McCarthy, and the only reason Sam Darnold's playing is because he gets hurt, no, Vikings are not making the playoffs. Now we're in a situation where not only are the Vikings 5-0, sitting atop the NFC, and tied with the Chiefs for first place in the entire NFL, but if you were to look at the standings, like playoff picture right now, today, playoff start at this exact moment, we have the Vikings at 1 for the NFC, Falcons at 2, Commanders at 3, 49ers at 4. All right, there are division winners at the moment. Then we have the Lions at 5. There's an NFC North team. Buccaneers at 6, Packers at 7. They're an NFC North team. The Bears are sitting just outside right now. They're sitting at 8, and they have the exact same record as all of the non-division winners right now. Okay, other than the Lions because they played one less game.
Mm-hmm.
That is huge. Like, that is like they're sitting above the Eagles right now. They're sitting above the Cowboys. Obviously, they're sitting above the Saints, but they've been playing well in the first half of the season here. I don't know, man. Like, that is a pretty good resume, for the NFC North. All you need is I mean, it's a tough stretch because you need the Buccaneers to not make the playoffs,
or Atlanta,
right? You need one of them to miss out. Not only win the division, but then the other one have a worse enough record to not make the playoffs. So, I mean, that's going to be tough because they're both playing really, really well. But other than that, like, I think they got a good resume for all of them making the playoffs.
So you're going to call it or you're going to scrap it?
I'm going to scrap it. Not because I don't think that all of the teams are playing really, really well. Like, they're all playing so well. But it is so hard for all four teams to make it. Like, you need... I mean, there's only 7 teams that make it in. So...
Over half would be from their division.
Yes. So you need the entire non-division winners to be from your division. That's a tough task. I'm going to scrap it, but all the teams are playing really, really well.
Yeah. I'm also going to scrap this, like you said, not because I don't think it's like it definitely I think all 4 of these teams could make the playoffs, but I don't think all four will be, but any 4 could make the playoffs, but it won't be all 4. Because one thing that is important that we're leaving out is all 4 of these teams have to play each other 4 times, like 2
each
times
play
each.
each other twice.
So they're gonna be taking shots like at each other. Like you're not gonna get another week, like a lot of weeks where the Lions win and the Packers win and the Vikings win. Like there's gonna be many, many weeks, 8 weeks.
Yeah.
Would that be where the Vikings? Like one of those teams has to take a loss, and if you want all 4 teams to squeak in, you're gonna have the rest of the NFC really struggle, like the rest of the non-division winners. And right now we have Tampa Bay, who's playing like one of the hottest teams in the NFL right now. Also Atlanta, like one of those teams are probably, I mean, obviously one of them is gonna win the division, but most likely the other will make the playoffs if they continue playing like they are. Philly, they're not playing up to their standards right now. We would expect them to get going. And maybe Washington takes a step back, but they could still remain in that conversation. I think the NFC is a lot better than what people thought it was going to be this season. And why I think any of those 4 could make it, I don't think all 4 will, because they have to take so many hits playing each other multiple times a season. And it's by far the most competitive and most dominant division in the NFL right now. I mean, the Bears are 4th and they're 4-2. That's incredible.
Yeah. And obviously that's tied with the Packers. They are a game behind the Lions, but only because the Lions had a bye week. And then the Lions are only a game behind the Vikings. So it's a really tight division.
Super excited to see how the rest of this year plays out for the NFC North and for the rest of the NFL. So we will see you guys next week when we recap week 7, see what happened with these NFC North teams, see what happened with these new wide receivers in their new places, see what happened with Russell Wilson, see what happened with all these storylines and situations. So stay tuned. We will see you guys next week. Hopefully, we will be presenting what the punishment is next week. So make sure you stay tuned to our Instagram, KA_football, and pay attention to there when we're announcing things and having votes and polls up this week. And unfortunately, we aren't going to be here. We're going to be online again. So make sure you go hit up that GoFundMe page and make sure that Austin drops out of college. So